Hello, 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 and welcome back to the 13 days of Mardi Gras. That's right. It is still Monday. We're hanging out here at 5600 Commerce Boulevard, the Caesar headquarters, Caesar Towers. I am in the rodeo room coming to you guys today live. We've got the 13 days of Mardi Gras going on. You're going to want to call your sales reps because they have the key to all of your savings. That's right. I am Rodeo Bo. I am the mayor of Mardi Gras County town, and I have given the keys off to this town to our good salespeople here at Condi Systems. So give them a call at 1-800-826-6332. Tell them you are interested in all we have going on our sales, our doorbusters. That's right. We've got currently we've got some open box sawgrass printers. Give them a call. We've got who's in here? Oh, DB, welcome, welcome. Enjoy your 110-minute phone call on hold. We've got Beth, we've got Sharon, Eddie, Tanya, Chuck. Hello and welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a hard one. Earlier today, we had Patrick from Caesar North America coming in talking to you guys about the Leonardo soft door. We've got a lot of great lives coming up. We've got tomorrow, we've got Chris from Forever. Wednesday, we've got Sawgrass and Geo Night. These are going to be at 11 and 3 o'clock. Please go ahead, check the listings on all of those things. But without any further ado, I would like, it's been too long. I said this a lot for a lot of people. It's been too long. It is, she is my second favorite in the industry. That's right. First is the worst, if you remember. Second is the best. And third is the nerd in the polka dot dress, who we all remember is Erin Montgomery. But without any further ado, here comes Nicky, the Sassy Subber. How are you, Nicky? Oh, I got to unmute you. Sorry. I got to unmute you. You got a lot to say.
Am I better now?
You are good. Hello.
Fantastic. Hello. Long time no see.
No see. Yeah, it is.
So the first thing I noticed, Bo, we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. We lost the beard.
We did. It's because I got the hat on now, so the hat needs to be the main attraction. It was time.
You look very, very much more mayorish.
Yes, very studious. Thank you.
Yes. So you put me on a tough task, and I thought you've put me on some tough tasks in the past, but this one I'm going to show you some tips and tricks and things that I know to be true about certain substrates. So we're going to talk about it. Do you want me to just jump right in, sir?
Yeah. And I'm going to say thank you. It's awesome. We got Pam David on your channel watching us. Yeah. I love that these people are coming over to you and all of that sort of stuff.
Hello, Sassy Nation. Thank you guys so much for watching me.
Sassy Nation, thank you for joining us. We love you. Thank you. Yeah. So without any further ado, we're going to let Nicky just go ahead, jump in. She's doing the board method on everything here.
Yes, right?
That's right. Enjoy, Nicky.
I technically probably could do the board method on this, but nope, we're just going to dive right in. So, if you haven't heard about dinking around, if you didn't know what a dink was, well, then you're not in the pickleball circuit. Pickleball is storming the nation, and Condi has the pickleball paddles. This guy right here, and they have the covers, this guy right here, right? So I'm going to teach you some tips and tricks on how to press these. Now, we all know that sublimation wood takes this ink absolutely beautiful, but some of the things that you're going to run into, especially like on my press here, I have a clamshell. So we're going to talk about what things you need to think about, whether or not you have a clamshell or a swing away, it doesn't matter, okay? So I will also put this disclaimer out there that I did follow the manufacturer's instructions, but just like everything else in our business, it's just a guide. It's a starting point. And then you go in and you tweak it. Well, I've gone in and done all the tweaking for you so that you have to do less tweaking, if you will. So one of the things we have to talk about is this handle right here. You do not want to get this handle in underneath your platen. Okay, it is not heat safe. So here's how I'm going to press it. Now, according to Condi's manufacturer's instructions, they say that you should even out your pressure. Let me move my thing over here. There we go. It says you should even out your pressure by putting something as equal as like a Nomax pad, the foam pad next to it, so that when these are side by side, it creates an even pressure. Well, of course, with everything true to Nicky, I'm going to show you 2 different ways you can press this. One is with cardboard on the side that I folded multiple times to even out the pressure. The other one is another method that I use, and that's just putting something under this front edge for us clamshell users, because the handle has to stick off the outside edge. First things first, let's put down some butcher paper, and you're going to want to pre-press this. Now, it says 360 for 120 seconds for dwell time, but you need to give it a good solid minute of pre-pressing. Why is that important? I'm glad you asked. Because moisture is inside of this wood. It is a natural product. It's just coated for sublimation. So you want to get all the moisture out of it right out of the gate. So this gives you what I call prep time. Right? This is going to allow you to figure out your pressure. This is going to allow you to get your heat press up to temp, all of that stuff. Okay. So first things first, you want to, and I take my butcher paper because I don't want my stuff to come off of it when I go to when it off gases. And I just want to know where that edge is. That edge is absolutely important. Even with pre-pressing, I'm going to take some heat tape, and I want to take some heat tape and I want to protect my handle here. And I'm just going to go over it. Now, you can get very close to this handle. You do not want to put your heat on the handle, the tape of the handle. It will melt. Okay. Now, this is the time I'm doing it at 385 for 60 because it's what I know. All right. So I want to just work on pressure right now. That's going to be nice, tight pressure. I then want to take my cardboard, and this is that method we talk about, because for your clamshell users, it hits down here first, nice and tight, but it's loose up here. And if you ever want to see that, don't put this cardboard. You will see how much of a gap there is because it does hit down here first. Now, our swing away users, they just come directly down. But there's a lot of us that have clamshells, and we've had to learn how to combat this. So I'm going to come in under this edge. I know right where this is. Come down, and we're going to make sure that when I slide this under, it does not hit that edge. Okay. And I'm going to pre-press this now for a minute. What did this do? It evened out the pressure up against the top of my platen. So do you have to have fancy, the Nomax pad or the green foam? You don't. You all have cardboard. Use what you got. And this way, it's just simple and easy. So now while that's pre-pressing, let's also talk about the word dinking. What does dinking mean? If you don't know, let me just properly school you. So it's basically, I want you to think of it like volleyball or like tennis. It's when you hit the ball over the net and you hit it at such an angle that it doesn't allow your opponent to attack it, to send it back over the net. So if you see that word and you're wondering why or what that word means, well, now you know. So I have my prints. I will tell you, this has a very generous bleed on these prints, okay? And so you're going to want to make sure. I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to get another pre-press on the back. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I do want to give it, I want to make sure all that moisture is out of it. There you go. It's really thick wood. It's 1/2 inch thick. So it's okay if I do a little bit of due diligence by pre-pressing it on both sides, and getting all of that moisture out of there. All right. And that's what I'm doing right now. I will say I did notice something that I completely forgot. And before I hear it in the comment section, I probably should have put butcher paper on the top. Yes, I should have. And I will just let you know as I'm sitting here looking at it going, ding. But
Nikki, I've pinned the comment for you. There you go.
Oh, for me to remember? Just so that I know that I have to press it? What do we pin the comment for, Bo?
Yeah, it said that you didn't use paper on top while pre-pressing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that one. Okay. Now I'm going to drop it all because why not? All right. So now I've got it all pre-pressed. Let me just move there we go. I've got it all pre-pressed. This is where I'm going to put it. Now I'm going to do the 2 different methods. I'm going to do them on either side. And I will tell you, I end up pressing it twice. Why is that? Because I do have this press And because I will end up with some modeling and I don't want that. So I end up pressing it twice. And it's just because I move it. Don't worry, don't freak out about it. But I'm going to show you which method and we'll see which one you like better. Okay, so I have my image. And I will tell you, when you are doing this, and it's going to be hard probably for you to see, you're actually going to want to hang this over the edge of your workstation, okay? And the reason is because it will not lay flat. You want to make sure it's completely centered. And then I'm going to show you a trick on the bigger monitor or on this heat platen. Now, I also only put down 2 pieces of tape. I want to be able to peek under the hood. This is one of those forgiving things. As long as you don't move it, you can peek under the hood, see if you've got some modeling. You might need to add some more pressure, whatever it may be, but we'll work through that together. Now, I will flip this over. The reason I'm flipping that over real quick, just so you can see it better on the monitor, I want to fold this and I'm going to trim it. Why is this important? Because there's extra right here. And I'm not going to be able to see where the edge is when it comes to when I put my platen down. So because it does have such a generous bleed, I want to take this off. I don't need it. There's no need for that little bit of extra. I'm going to go in. I'm going to trim it up. I am going to fix my tape because I think it came off. Okay, let's just double
Nikki,
check.
when we create the templates here, they definitely are just a template, kind of a guide to start to fit everybody. Yep. And I am loving, because I've never seen you do one of these. So I'm watching you and thinking what I think.
Okay. So
and that's exactly what I did.
Right. So I just trimmed it a little bit. You're going to end up with a little bit of the handle showing. Don't freak out about that. Okay. Try to get it as close as you can. And if you notice, I don't have it on mine either. I'll show you a close up. So now I have this where I want it. I'm going to show you the method that Condi recommends, and that is having something of even pressure next to this so that it kind of evens out the pressure. On the back side of it, I will go in and I will show you how I just slide this underneath this front edge, and it'll do the same thing. So right now, we're going to put this. What this is it's literally just 3 pieces of cardboard. You guys get boxes all the time. Use them. All right, so now I have this right at my edge. We're going to get that butcher paper, you know, the stuff that I forgot on the first time around. This is where it's important because there will be bleed and off-gassing. We're protecting our investment. That is our heat platen. Now, I've already checked the pressure on this, right? No, because I had already had the cardboard in underneath it. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to tighten it down because this is going to be a little bit lower. Oh, I hate doing this. Okay. I know that it's right near the edge where it needs to be. I do have firm pressure on this because I have a clamshell. Whereas the swing away users, it comes directly down. We are wonky. You got to work with us wonky people. It's okay with that. So now
Nikki, what size is your heat press?
16 by 20.
Okay. Could you have 2 of them side by side on there? Could you do 2 at once?
You could. My only concern with having 2 side by side is you would definitely want to put that. You could always just put it next to it, not press it, kind of thing. And I could show you that. But my concern would be is you would still have to put something under that front edge, because I could tell you there's a gap here.
Yeah,
I can tell you there's a gap on this. So, and that's using the firm pressure, but I'm doing it at 60 seconds. I'm hoping. I did up my temperature. They do call for 360 for 2 minutes, but I'm going to see. So I can tell just by looking at it, there is some modeling. All right. As you peek in underneath this hood, I can tell you it did not press the way I wanted it to. Why? Because this is the back end. This is the end that has the struggle, right? I can tell you if I peeked under this part of the hood, she's perfect, right? So how do we combat that? My way of doing things is, because we're having it off this front edge, is I'm coming in and I'm going just like this, right? I'm adding it to this front. I know there's 3 here, but after a while, your cardboard does wear down. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do it again. Bring it right down. And let me loosen my pressure just a little. Now, what did that do? It upped the front part of this, so now it's more out of an angle. The angle helps with you clamshell users because the back part hits first and doesn't hit this back part just yet, right? So then if we up it a little bit, when it's all coming down, it's all at the same angle. I developed this a long time ago because I've always had clamshells because of my space. I can't have a swing away. You need a lot of room for a swing away. You don't with a clamshell. And well, they're what everybody seems to get. So if you go in and you want to do it side by side, you might have to switch your paddle to go towards this side of your press. You could do that and then press it again, right? Or you could do exactly what I just did. And we went in underneath the hood here, look to see where our issue is. It is on this back end. I could tell you, she's a perfect press. Sometimes a girl just knows how to do something. So we're going to pull off all our tape and look at that. You guys see that? That's amazing. So now what I'm going to do is do it fully the way the method that I do it, because this is game changing. This can be used not only for your pickleball, it could be used for your cutting boards. It could be used for all of those bigger, hard substrates that you guys have that you're like, I end up with pressure issues. Why isn't this working? That's what we're going to do. So we're going to put down some new butcher paper. Why? Because there's off-gassing. If you can't see, I'm going to show right here in the see this? There's off-gassing. It doesn't matter. We're protecting our investment. What you're going to do, you're going to save this paper. You're going to put it through a paper shredder. You end up with really nice confetti packing for when you ship items. Okay, so that's what you're going to do there. Now, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do it just for 60 seconds, but we're going to do it with the method that I like and see if for some reason I might actually know what I'm talking about. Okay. So we're going to come. Oh, that's the front of that one. Wrong one. And believe it or not, the templates for the cover and the templates for the paddle are completely different. They are a different size, so don't confuse them. All right. So as you can see, you do not want to be laying it fully on your table like this because, well, there's a gap under here. Swing it around town. Have it so it comes off your press. What I like to do is line up my stripes because I have stripes in this pattern. So I try to line up the stripes, just, you know, my OCD here. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to tape it down. Now, will the tape bother this print? Nope, not at all. Will it leave tape marks? Nope, not at all. Okay. So again, I'm putting only 2 pieces of tape because I want to peek under the hood. I will say this when you go to flip this over. Take your paper here. Once you've already pressed it, put it in underneath this. Okay. You want to protect your cardboard because you don't want it to off-gas someday down the line onto something. Okay. So we want to do our method here of pulling up this paper. We're going to make our crease. We are going to trim this piece off. Don't need it. There we go. All right. So now we have what we need. Again, I'm at 385. We're going to do 60 seconds. We pre-pressed this, so she should press like a dream. We're going to come down. Oop, butcher paper, top. Before I get called out again. Okay. I will slide this so that it goes just to the edge because I really want to see what I'm doing. And just guide it. Oop. You know what else I forgot? I want to protect myself. I want to protect this tape. Put the tape on this edge. There we go. Now we're good. So I have my cardboard underneath. I have my butcher paper. I have my paddle. I taped the handle to protect it. We trimmed off the edge of the design so that it goes right up against that tape as close as we can get it. Then we're going to put butcher paper on the top, right to that edge. drop it down like it's hot because Lord knows it is. And firm pressure. I did firm pressure on this because I am doing 385 for 60 seconds. So I kind of just threw caution to the wind. I have pressed so many items, slates, all of that stuff over the years that I have just learned how to work my press. And that's what you need to do. You need to know how to use your press. And you're going to look at those manufacturer's instructions and go, I'm not sure. So yes, I encourage you to buy an extra one of this guy right here. I encourage you to buy an extra one of these, the covers, and a paddle. This way you can get your settings correct. But if you go in with maybe what I have done, it might work for you. And then you don't have to worry about the whole mess up part. This is very forgiving. As you can tell, I've pre-pressed it twice, which in most things, we don't pre-press something after you've picked it up off the hood. Okay, we just don't. All right, let's see how well I know my things. Okay, so I want to see if there's any modeling. There very well could be modeling, right? What are we going to do? We're going to add more dwell time. So let's just see where we got. Okay, over here. There's a little bit over here. So what would I do in this instance, right? You could go in and you could, I just want to make sure it doesn't move because I don't need it to move. Okay. What I would go in and do is just add some more dwell time. So I have it for 60 seconds because I did press it twice. So I have it for 60 seconds. This might be where you want to do it for the 120 seconds. And that way, you know, you won't get the modeling. That's okay too. This is why we do this. This is why I show you real life, because manufacturer's instructions can kind of be, can be hard to navigate if you've never done it. And for newbies, it's probably the most intimidating thing. So we've dropped it down. So this is where I would say to you, you could do 385 for 120 seconds, and then it should take away all of that modeling. If you have your cardboard under the front, you've evened out all the pressure, and now you can have a gorgeous paddle. I will show you that I didn't end up with any burn marks in my design because you can see the wood shining through. It works out like a dream. Let me show you the one that I did earlier. As you can see, this is why you don't want to come here. I got a little too close on this one, and you can see this one, I backed it up a little bit and my tape had moved. That's again why you want to make sure you protect this. I hit it. I wanted to see how close I could come. You don't want to come so close that it will melt it. If for some reason it does melt it, what you can do is just tap it back down and it will adhere. So if you give yourself a little bit of a line, it's okay. You just don't want to come all the way up to here on it. Okay. Let's peek back underneath that hood. There we go. Oh, she's hot. Okay. So you now have your pickleball paddle all ready to go. Let me give you both of them. Okay. So here are your pickleball paddles, right? So now you have your paddles. All right. Let me move that out of the way. Next up, let's talk about these covers. I don't pre-press my neoprene, and that could cause some controversy, but let me explain why. Neoprene swells when you add the heat to it. So it just puffs right up, and I have to wait for it to settle back down because it will do some shifty things because it's a fabric. Here are some things you need to know. Lint roller will be your best friend. When you're lint rolling neoprene, you really have to lint roll both sides of it because the heat does go through it. So here's my rule of thumb. You go one direction, turn it, go in another direction, do it in fours, okay? Why is that? Because lint fibers can be in pretty much any direction. You don't know how stuck they are. Flip her over. Get it all lint rolled. Now, could you use your velvet lint roller on this? You could. You absolutely could, because the velvet lint roller acts like little fingers and it grabs those fibers. But I do like a good sticky lint roller for my neoprene stuff. Okay.
Hey, Nikki, I'm really glad you said something about the velvet lint roller because Doug down here has no clue that there's other lint rollers.
There
And
is.
I had a velvet one and I can't find it to show him.
You know what? I don't know
So
where
I'm
mine is.
laughing over here.
So velvet lint rollers are great for your soft substrates like shirts, towels, pillowcases, that kind of stuff. Why is that? Because it's fabric, and because it's a velvet one, it pulls against those threads and it kind of pulls out the lint fibers that can kind of get embedded into your fabrics, right? So it acts like little fingers pulling against it, and it can get a lot more lint out of your item. And what I generally do, go through with my velvet lint roller. It's made by 3M. It's red on both sides of it, black handle. You can find it on the Zon. And if you go and you lint roll with the velvet one first, you're going to kind of pick up a lot of that. Then you go back through with your sticky lint roller and it kind of cleans up what may have been left behind. Now, is it a perfect science? No, it's not. But at least you can try to get as much off as you can. Now, the next thing, if you go in and you read the instructions, it tells you to use a soft towel and whatnot. Let's scrap that. When I do my lunch totes, my neoprene lunch totes, I make a cardboard jig. So I went in, cut it out to be the exact size of this. Why is that important? It adds some stability because right here is where it's thick. Why is it thick on these? Because of the zipper. All right, so you've got some bulk right here because of all the seams. By adding in the cardboard that fits right in here, it raises this up so it makes it a little bit more of a playing field. Now, I will tell you, I thought, okay, well, I could do the soft towel thing, but this still sits too low. And I just need you to know, this guy cannot be put in the heat press. He needs to hang off the outside edge, so he has to go in this way. Two, if you go and you try to put the pickleball paddle in, well, it's a little bit smaller and you're going to end up with this weird, wonky edge. So the jig has to happen. So you go in, add your jig, make sure it's the same size. And what I do is when I draw this, I literally cut on the inside of my jig, of my jig. That way it's going to fit. All right. So now what did this do? This added stability to my center. It's leveling out this playing field on the sides of this. And now she's a lot more firm. Okay. We're going to turn it around. Another thing, when you are pressing this, we're going to press it with and without the cardboard that I did, because again, this is going to hit differently. This one, unlike the lunch totes, so lunch totes, the handles are a little bit thinner than what I call the butt end. It's the bottom end of a lunch tote. And normally you never hear me say I put something under that front edge. But for these, I would definitely consider putting something under the front edge if you're having issues. But for this, use very firm pressure, not squish the heck out of me pressure. We don't want to be catapulting this across the room, but we do want to use some firm pressure. You guys are just going to love my terminology over time. Okay. So again, you want to lay this down. Make sure your zipper is, I close the zipper on this. I just do. And because it doesn't harm the zipper and whatnot, because I've already pressed one, I just leave it so that that cardboard doesn't squish out and make for some uneven pressure. So I like to go in and make sure we are all lined up. We're going to tape it down. Again, I'm only taping this down in 2 spots. Could you tape it down in more? Yes. And I very well might, you know what? I will do it just so you guys can see, but I do leave one section just so I can see, especially up on this front end where I know I'm going to have issues. So because this side is closest to me, I might leave this side open. Again, it's just so that I can peek under the hood and make sure that there's no modeling. Now, this is one of those items that you do not want to go in and double press. Let me stress that more than anything else. You get one shot at this. This is not a peek under the hood and drop it down like it's hot again. All right. If you've messed it up, you've messed it up, because it is neoprene, and neoprene does swell, which means the fabric can expand, it expands up, and now nothing lines up correctly. So knowing your product ahead of time will make you do this a lot easier. I am going to use on this firm pressure. Like I said, firm pressure. Will I still peek under the hood? Yep, I'm still going to peek under the hood. because either it's going to be the face of disappointment or it's going to work. All right. So because this is the same thickness as a pickleball paddle, what I will do and what I would have done prior is test like the thickness. So you could just, hold on. I don't want this to mess up. Hold please. I want to just check my pressure real quick. Yep. Because it is fabric, it's going to definitely press a little bit differently than if it were the pickleball paddle, but they are the kind of same thickness when you get going. All right. Let's see if she can do it. Put this in. We've lint rolled. We've put our jig in. We're putting this little piece outside so that it hangs off the edge. Let me see if you guys can see that better. So this hangs off the edge. I will kind of sneak it as far in as I can because, again, I know this front edge is going to be a problem for me. So I'm going to sneak this in, right? Now, could you, when you go and flip it, let's say you had some pressure issues, could you flip it to the, yeah, you could, but again, you're not going to want to move this because it swells. So this is a no moving project. Just need you to know that. I mean, you could try it. I'm not going to tell you no, because you know what? Sometimes we need to try things to see if it works. I've never been so nervous to do something ever in my life. Okay. Here we go. I'm terrified. I will tell you that. I'm terrified to do it. Why? Because, just getting my print here, because it's one of those things that it's neoprene. And like I said, neoprene isn't exactly forgiving, but I get a perfect press on my totes every time because I use the same technique. So because this is a new item, I will be willing to waste one. It's the price of doing business so that I know how my stuff works. Then I could go in and go, perfect. This is how I'm going to do it the same way every time. I definitely know the jig is where it's at. You want to make your cardboard jig. And that's for your totes. That's for your pickleball paddles. That's for your wine tumbler totes. Even the linen items, you could go in and put a cardboard jig underneath it. Again, it adds stability because there are seams in our fabric. Whew. All right. Let me explain. If you look, and it's probably hard to see, this thing is puffed up. Great. So I would not be able to go in. Oh, see, I had a pressure issue. So I would probably want to do more pressure. Okay. But you see how this is puffed up right here? If I were to drop that back down, because I noticed that, I am running the risk, definitely running the risk at having it off gas and shadow. So what do we do? Like, Nikki, now what do I do? I messed this up. You're right. I messed up a couple already. So I'm going to give it some longer dwell time. Again, I have to go with what I know. So we're going to give it a little bit more dwell time. We're going to go up to 90 seconds. No, you know, I'm going to do 120 just because I'm going to do it for the 2 minutes. Just hear me out. Okay. Because this does have some wonkiness to it. Why do I show you these things? So that we can work through them together. All right. Because nothing in sublimation is an exact art. Again, we're going to line this up and we're going to see now that it has been pressed, if I can get that perfect press on the second one. See, I'm doing all the work for you so that you don't have to worry about it. I'm going to go in. Now, this was the side that I didn't tape down. We're going to tape this down. Really tape it. Okay. Tape is cheap. Okay. I want this to shift a little. We're going to tape this all down so that it does what it needs to do. Again, tape is cheap. Okay. Now that we've got it taped down, I'm going to add extra time to it because, again, this is the spot that I didn't tape. If you notice the spots that I did tape, perfect. So tape this down. I know there's some things where I will use just minimal tape because you don't always need to use a ton of tape. But then there's items like this. You really want to tape this down. Your neoprene totes any of that stuff, you want to tape it down. Okay. Now I know I said I only use 2, but there's a reason for it. I need to show you these things. All right. Let's get some new butcher paper down. Okay. And we're going to flip this over to the edge. And then we'll go through it all over again so you can write this down and you too can be very successful in doing this. All right. So let's go over this and what we know. Butcher paper on the bottom, or your substrate, transfer, butcher paper. We've made a burrito. Fantastic. On the first one, I left a spot to peek under the hood. Why? Who knows? But you know what? You want to see if you did it correctly. Sometimes we only put a couple pieces of tape because we're tired or we're lazy and we just don't want to, right? For neoprene, you absolutely want to. You want to tape it down as best you can. You want to lint roll the heck out of it and make sure that it's clean. Everything is done. You want to make sure that this little hooky thingy is hanging off the edge. We do not want this underneath the press. It makes a mess, and well, then you can't use it if it's melted. You want to use absolutely firm pressure for this. I did up the time for this, but by taping it down and adding the extra time, I should have an absolute perfect press at this point. Fingers crossed.
Nikki, do you ever use any sort of adhesive spray like Pro Spray? Because that's what we would do here. And we have a question from Maria asking if you would use it.
I don't use Pro Spray in my fabrics. I will use it on my hard substrates, but I don't use it on my fabrics. I don't know why that it isn't. I just don't. If Condi suggests that you do, then by all means, go for it. I just don't. It's just, I wish I could give you a better reason.
I always definitely say go with what works.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You're going to end up with lots of fun stuff when you do these, but we're going to go over it. You're going to write it all down. This way we can talk about it, and then you guys can go through and be probably a little bit more successful than I was, and that's okay. There we go. Let's see what else I have over here. Perfect. Any questions in the comments other than that one?
Someone's asking who the invisible voice is behind the scenes, and I guess that would be me.
That would be, so like I say over when I do my SAS, and thanks for, my back office help today is Bo, the mayor of Condi. He is the back office voice from above who's talking to me.
We need to get you a hat like this.
I know. This was my only garb. Okay. I teach at the Everything Embroidery Market. Condi was there with me last year. Louisiana, that's the closest that's it. I have nothing Mardi Gras themed. We don't do Mardi Gras themed stuff up here in New York. I know that sounds crazy. We just really don't. All right. I'm going to pull this. Oh, please have pressed correctly. Please. Please don't be ugly. Please don't be ugly. Okay. I don't know. I'm scared. I ended up with more pressure issues. So how do we fix that? You can add 2 templates. And you know what? Do we have time, Bo, for me to do one more? I'm going to make...
I get paid by the hour. We have all the time in the world.
So I want to add in a double layer of the cardboard. And the only reason, because I think it really does need to be brought up, even though I've taped it, I think that it's still just too thick. And you really need to make this a little bit thicker, I believe. So I want to try that. And like I said, I have tried it with the paddle on the inside. But if you notice, the paddle's too small. Okay. Bo and I talked about this. So I am going to go in front of this camera real quick. I want to see if we have 2 pieces of cardboard. Will that help in you doing this? Again, this is why we're doing it, because, well, if somebody's going to make the mistakes around here, might as well be me. All right. We have my template. We're going to cut this out. Whoops. Yes, I just have random sheets of cardboard hanging out in my shop here. Always. So come in with your X-Acto knife. I'm going to come on the inside edge I'm not going all the way through, so don't panic. I'm just getting the edge of it so that my scissors can cut through a little bit easier because it is cardboard. And I would be doing this on my desk as well, not on my platen here. There I go, hang that over the edge. Okay. Does this have to be a perfect edge? Nope. Nope, it does not. Cardboard does not have to be perfect by any stretch of this imagination. I will add in there my front edge. You know how I talked about my front edge piece? I'm going to add my front edge piece in there. Again, because I know clamshell users are going to struggle just like I am. And well, we just want to make sure we've covered all of our bases. So I am going to add my front edge of cardboard. Let me just cut this over here because it's driving me nuts. There we go. Throw that over there. Okay.
Hey, Nikki, can I show the one that I did want? I've only done this.
Absolutely. It
you
does
know,
work, by the way. I don't want you to think that it doesn't.
I did mine and I got the front side. It came out really great. Ignore this for a second here, but it came out really great on the front side.
See?
And then I threw it in to do the other side. And this guy flipped up or flipped down. I don't know which way, I forget. And when I closed the press, I was like, I know that thing is in there and I just screwed up. And yeah, it will press both sides. If you get that guy in there underneath,
Yeah,
it will press through both sides. So
yep. So here we go. I have through the magic of television, I have another one. Okay.
So that's why I told you to be careful about the lobster clasp thing.
Yes. So I have a print that didn't print exactly the way I wanted it to, but we're just going to use it because we need to talk about this top edge. We know the rest of this presses correctly. I have 2 pieces of cardboard in here that are to make this a lot more firm. I'm loving how this feels. It's dropping down the seams where it needs to. I'm hoping this is the answer to our problems. I am also going to add a little bit of cardboard, not a lot, to that front edge, not as thick as the other one, just a little. What I tend to do is take some chipboard and I fold it over. So you go, I have 2 pieces, 1, 2, 3 times, and I will slide it right in underneath this edge because it's probably just a hair of an issue. We're going to tape it down because I know this will work because I do neoprene totes all the time. And so because this is just new and I don't have the butt end, as I like to call it, I just instinctively just do what I know. All right. So all of my stuff, I did happen to pre-lint roll all of my stuff before my live, just in case I forgot. I do want to make that disclaimer, but I showed you to lint roll it just because that's what I'm supposed to do. All right. So everything has been lint rolled. We're going to tape it down. I'm really going to pay a lot of attention to this top half. We're going to put this in underneath. Drop my thing off the edge. I'll loosen this pressure just a touch. I just want to make sure it tightens down. Perfect. Now let's hope it just does what it needs to do. So I put the front edge in underneath. Now, let's talk about this. Let's say you say, Nikki, I don't want to deal with the covers. That's fine. You can go and sell these. Everybody's going to ask me what my price point on these are and what I would sell them. I have been looking around the market of personalized ones, and people are selling them for $60 a set and up. So you can sell them as singles. You can sell them as doubles. Doubles are kind of where it's at because, you know, people like to go play pickleball with someone else. So that is definitely great for just ideas for price points. But that's what they're going for on the market. I was doing some research, and that's usually the first question out of the gate is, so Nikki, what are you going to sell them for? Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So you could sell them just like this as a set if you want to. If you don't want to do the neoprene covers, you don't have to. You could just do this too. Get in on the pickleball game because, again, with the hottest thing on the market being pickleball, at least get the paddles out there, get your name out there, and make custom ones. They are solid. They're a 1/2 inch thick. These guys, you could probably use them for ping pong too. Like ping pong paddle. I mean, I know they're a little bit on the big side for a ping pong paddle, but can we use them for ping pong?
I'm hoping someone makes a charcuterie board out of one.
Okay, I was thinking pizza board, to be honest with you.
And I like hearing that you're near the we're in the same ballpark on prices. I was thinking $70 somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
and
that's it. One, I know everybody says it depends on your market. You're going to price things at what you want to price things at. You just don't want to lose your shirt on it.
Yes, and that will double your investment.
Yep. Okay. I'm praying I did this right this time. Woohoo! She got it. Okay. So, what did we learn? We learned that you should double your cardboard in between. Like I said, my image did not print out correctly. That's why I had to go print other ones. So don't judge that part. I did put some for our clamshell users. I did put something under that front edge. I'm just taking off all the tape. So here you go. This is where my press. I don't even know if y'all can see me. Hold on. Let me go to this camera. Okay. So I had some print issues on this one, but she absolutely did print the way she should be. So what do we learn on this? Put 2 pieces of cardboard, evens everything out because there's a lot of stuff in these seams. Okay, so we're going to even out your pressure. Then you're going to go in and you're going to put some cardboard under that front edge. You're going to tape this down like it was your job. Well, because it is. But you're going to tape this all down and then you're going to give it firm pressure. By me adding extra time to it, it allowed for the ink to off-gas properly onto this. Then I could go over and then I can go in and press this side, which I could do right now as well. So those are the things that we have learned about this. Add in 2 pieces of cardboard, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You can do that. Then you go in, make sure that you have this off the edge of your press because we don't want that pressed. And because I have an extra image, we're going to do it while we're talking. See if there's any further questions as I go over everything that we have learned. Now, remember, these 2 prints have just print issues that I had, but I want to show you that top edge here does work. And now I'm just going to go in and pretend that you guys aren't here and I'm going to go in and do it the way I normally would. And just keep going.
If we weren't here, Nikki, what would you be listening to?
80s rock.
80s rock?
Yep.
Awesome.
Listen, the 80s never died. That is probably the one music genre or time frame that it didn't die. I mean, my kids even listen to 80s rock. If I were to put my music on right now, it would probably default to the very first song is usually Journey, is the one that comes up religiously. Okay.
Being from Detroit, the Journey song with the South Detroit, born and raised in South Detroit.
That's the one. Yep.
There is no South Detroit. That's called Windsor, Canada.
That's called Windsor, Canada. All right.
The first song I came to mind was the Bangles, "Walk Like an Egyptian" with 80s.
Yes, that's a good one too. But yeah, I think that's what I would be listening to if this were just a quiet day at the office. Okay, so we've got it all smoothed out. We've got my little hooky thing off. Everything is underneath. Sweet. We're gonna go in. Remember, take your paper that you have here. You're going to recycle it. You're going to put it through the paper shredder. You're going to get yourself a garbage bag, and now you have packing material. And it's confetti dot because it's going to have all pretty colors all over it. So, and while you pay for a lot of that in the stores. Now, we've got firm pressure, and I have the 385 for 120 seconds on this. Can I do it a smaller time or temp? Yeah, I could, but I'm not going to because we didn't mess up this one. Okay. Now, I will tell you that I did notice that my pressure changed a little. Yes. Does your pressure change a little after you go press the first side? So will I end up with some issues? I may, because as I pressed it, I forgot that I probably should have tightened it down just a little, because when you're pressing fabrics, it presses flat. So it changes the pressure on your machine. You cannot just go in and press one side and then flip it over and think that it's going to be the same pressure. It doesn't work that way. It works that way with our hard substrates, but it does not work that way with our fabric. So I could tell you when I did it, it is definitely a little bit lighter in pressure. I could feel the difference of it. So what you're going to do is press all the fronts of the stuff that you want to do. So let's say you're going to do a bunch of these. Go through, press all the fronts because it's one pressure. Then you can go back through and press all the backs because it's another pressure, right? And you want to tighten it down just ever so slightly because there is going to be a difference because it does squish flat. And your cardboard also gets a little bit flat because, well, it's cardboard. So there's a tip I can tell you. These are just some of the things that I've learned in the last 7 years of teaching and the last 7 years of teaching all newbies. These are things that people don't realize or don't think about when they're doing it. We just do it instinctively. I just do it. I will just reach over and do it. But when I'm teaching, I forget to tell you these things, or I forget to do it myself. So let's see. Let's move this camera over. I feel so much better about doing these now. I was so nervous. Oh, don't be afraid. There's nothing scary in sublimation. All right. There's absolutely nothing scary in our world in sublimation. You just have to do it. Just take the leap. Just jump. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to make an error. But remember, our errors are learning experiences. We're not failures because we didn't get it right. It's a learning experience. And by having these learning experiences, it's going to teach us and make us a better product. Okay, now remember, I know the pressure was different. So, because I cannot go back through and double press this because it swells. Now, will the second side swell as much as the first did? Nope, it will not. Will the second side, maybe could I go through and maybe do it again? I might be able to, but if you're new to this, don't do what I would do. All right, let's see. Let's seize the truth. Yep. Because my pressure, and here's why, great learning experience. Because my pressure was off, all right, and I felt it. As soon as I dropped it down, I was like, I forgot to change it. You want this to be firm pressure both times. So go through and do your fronts if you're going to do a bunch of these. If you're going to do the backs, make sure you double check your pressure before you do it because this will happen, all right? We don't want that to happen. So you go in. You can let these cool down, and I have let them cool down. Let them settle down if you want, but then you could go in and get these pressed. So those are just some of the tips and tricks that I can teach you about pressing these. Oh, wait, that's the wrong side. Oh, no, the tape just went over the back side. I was like, crap, that was the wrong side. No, that was the right side. So those are just some of the stuff that I can tell you. So check your pressure. Let's go over everything that we've learned about these so that you too can have a successful press and then you don't feel like this was such a problem. All right. So let's talk about it. Let's start off with your paddles. All right. The paddles, I did do them at 385. For 120 seconds is what we figured is a really good spot for them. You would need to go in if you're a clamshell user and you're going to want to put something underneath this front edge. You have to pre-press these. All right. So we're going to go over the minor details of all of these paddles. Pre-press, solid minute at the heat that you are going to be pressing these at. I pre-pressed on both sides. I wanted to make sure there's all the moisture out of this. That's one. Step two, you want to go in and you want to put heat tape on the handle here to protect this handle. You do not want to get your heat platen on this part of the handle where the tape is right here. You do not want to. You want to come just slightly above that. When you are laying out your design, you want to lay it out so that your handle is hanging off the edge of your table. You want to tape it all down. Then you want to flip it over, all right? You want to flip it over and you want to pull this back so you know right where that edge is so you don't get your platen on that tape. Cut off the excess. You do not want to leave it there. Why? Because it can bleed through the paper and it can bleed on top of your platen. We don't want that. Cut off that access. And because this tape line will vary depending on the handle. Sometimes it'll be nice and close, like this one's closer. Sometimes it may be up a little bit higher. All right, we ought to pay attention to that. So we've pre-pressed, we've taped. We've done our due diligence to prep the item. You're going to tape it all down. Can you leave a corner on this one to look under the hood? You absolutely can. But I only recommend that for people who have been doing this longer than a hot minute. If you're new, tape it all down. Tape it all down to give yourself a successful press. Now, whether you are a clamshell user or a swing away, you got to protect your investment. You're going to have butcher paper on the bottom. You're going to have your substrate. Then you're going to have your transfer face down. And then you're going to have butcher paper. All right. That is your sublimation burrito. We talk in food terms around here. So that is your sublimation burrito. You're going to have to make sure this handle is off the edge. For my clamshell users, you're going to want to put something under this back edge here, because remember, this touches your platen first, and this will leave a gap on this end. It doesn't matter what clamshell you have. It just does not matter. You will end up with a gap. So we combat that gap by putting a piece of cardboard, and actually the cardboard that I used it's 3 pieces. I dropped it on the floor. It's 3 pieces of cardboard because this is thick. It's 3 pieces of cardboard that I slid in underneath here to make sure that this was even on this. It creates basically a wedge. All right. And you want the wedge because this guy touches first, this guy touches last. Then you want to go in with, I did 385 for 120 seconds. I got a perfect press. And I mean, she's perfect. I mean, look at those. They are gorgeous. All right. So you definitely want all of these type of things. You want this kind of press. So that's what we've learned about this. All right. Flip it over, do the back side of it, and keep right on going. Do you have to adjust your pressure in between these? No, because it's a hard substrate and it doesn't flatten down. It doesn't swell, anything of that nature. So for hard substrates, you don't have to go in and adjust your pressure. So that's what we've learned about that. Now, on these guys right here, all right, what have we learned on this? 1, don't be afraid, but buy extra, okay? These are not overly expensive. I think they're like $5.50 a piece, I saw. Okay, so they're not overly expensive to buy an extra 1 or 2 so that you get your method down. My recommendation is to put 2 pieces of cardboard inside here, all right? You're going to go in, you're going to add very firm pressure to this. You can add a little piece of cardboard in underneath here if you wanted to. Now, the cardboard that I added in was this guy right here, and it's just a couple layers of chipboard, just enough to give it a little bit of pressure. I do the same thing. That same chipboard is what I use for my cutting boards. All right, you want to make sure that this guy is hanging off the edge of your platen. So let's go over this. You want to go in, you want to put your butcher paper, no matter which type of heat press you have. You want to go in and lay your substrate with your transfer face down. You want to tape this down insanely well. Can you use Pro Spray? Of course you can use Pro Spray. I just don't have it to use Pro Spray. I don't use it on my fabrics when I ran out, sorry. I don't use it on my fabrics. I only use it on my hard substrates. All right, that's a personal choice. Then what you're going to want to do is put this in so that this hangs off the side. You're going to want to put butcher paper over the top. Again, we're making that burrito. You're going to want to go in with firm pressure. I did 385 for 120 seconds because I really want to make sure that I get down into these edges, right? Then firm pressure, like you're really making sure it's nice and tight. For your clamshell, that little bit of an edge. When you're done and you've pulled it off, you end up with that perfect press. You're going to want to flip it over. Now, when you flip it over, I will tell you this, and you can see my tape flipped over and I didn't realize it. I will tell you this. Your pressure changes on the second side. This gets nice and flat, all right, because you are doing it. You have to adjust your pressure. I can't explain that or say that or stress that, is what I mean. Stress that any further. You have to change your pressure when you do the second side. right? That's where issues are going to come into play if you don't change that. And like I said, I noticed that as soon as I dropped it down, I went, oh, I was supposed to change the pressure. All right. So go in, do the same thing you would have done for the first side, except you're going to tighten down your pressure so that this ends up with a beautiful, even press. Once you get your method down, it's honestly easy. You'll just instinctively just do it. So those are the things that I have learned. In between there, you also want to make sure you've lint rolled all of this before you even go in and try to test your pressure on this. You want to go in and lint roll both sides. Stress that enough, both sides. And if you have a velvet lint roller, do that first and then your sticky lint roller. So make sure you do that before you even put it anywhere underneath this platen because, well, you'll end up with those blue dots. So I think that covers all of the things. Bo, am I missing anything?
No. I think you got everything in there.
Did I do that thorough enough?
I think that was pretty thorough. Yeah. I learned some stuff today. I learned one thing I learned was the confetti paper. That is something that I think is a great idea. And there was something else in there. I should have wrote it down. I was going to, and I didn't. I learned that
you didn't. We talked about it earlier, and you didn't think to put the cardboard on the inside.
Yeah. I like that you're using a clamshell heat press. That's what I have at my house. Is a clamshell. So I am a clamshell user if I ever press at my house.
Yep.
And
one of the things for being clamshell users, we have to do things slightly different because of that potential pressure issue. And like I said, I do it for my my cutting boards as well. My glass cutting boards, I will put a little bit of the cardstock, and you can use cardstock too. You don't have to have chipboard. You can use cardstock that's folded over a couple times under that front edge. I found over the last 7 years that little bit of something makes that wedge just enough to where you end up with a perfect press. So yes, it is something that you can go in and do.
Yeah, and I always it was you were doing the paddle. You were doing the paddle, and you call it check under the hood. I call it a peekaboo. I don't have patience for that, and I just rip it off. I forget that I'm supposed to look, and I liked how cool, calm you were. Like, I'm just going to lift this up, look underneath there, and then just put it back down and pretend like this never happened. And I think that the viewers can really take from that, be cool, be calm, be collected.
Right. Don't
take a breath.
Out. Right.
Yeah.
Don't stress out. Now, can you do that check under the hood method for every substrate? No, you can't. You learn which ones you can get away with doing that with. Neoprene is not one of those items where you can check under the hood. Like I said, now, because I've been doing this long enough and that second side of my cover was nice and flat, could I have peeked under the hood and potentially double press that again? Maybe. But let's be honest. I'm typically doing some of this stuff into the wee hours of the night because I'm a small business owner. And us small business owners, well, we work at all times a day. We don't work the typical 9-to-5 job. And sometimes we're in distractionville with kiddos, husbands, puppies, whatever it may be, wives, right? We're in distractionville. So we're not always paying attention to it. So honestly, I would err on the side of caution. Just tape the whole thing down really well. And if you wanted to, and you really wanted to make sure, do some Pro Spray and tape it down. All right. Because I would rather have it come out perfect and add a little bit of prep time than to sit there and get frustrated. Don't get frustrated with the process. That's all it is a process. All right. And I want you to get determination. Just work through it. We can all do it. Don't worry. It's nothing scary.
Nicky, this is just something here that's, you talk about like the 7 years of experience, all of that, and working through it. Do you ever go back and look at your first video you did?
Oh my God, yes.
See, like,
it was bad, but you know what? My first video was kind of like a back to basics for me because that's when I was really green. And when I was teaching and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that I do it that way because we also get complacent. And we just kind of just do it. And that's one of the downsides. And it too, is we just do it instinctively without actually explaining what we're doing. When I teach in-person stuff, because I teach all over the country, as most of you know, I teach in-person classes, and I seem to talk it out more. But when I'm on camera, I forget to talk it out because there's nobody standing there to have me talk it out. But yeah, those first videos, oof, they were raw. They were really
Eventually,
raw.
it just everything becomes second nature. You know, you got to do it. You got to get comfortable with it. I was talking to a customer today, and here, and it's like, this is the heat press. This is medium. This is light pressure. This is heavy pressure. Medium pressure is in between these two. You know, and well, can I look at the press and know? Not really. You kind of just got to feel this out, and
It's
you
a
got to
feel
start
thing.
knowing your press.
Right,
Um,
right. I developed terms, and you know, squish the heck out of me pressure means the tightest pressure your body can like do without catapulting it across the room. That kind of pressure I use on the canvas garden flags because of the edge, those corners there's so much milling of fabric and layers and all of that you can end up with pressure issues. So you really want to make sure you pre-press it. And I also teach on that one to pre-press it upside down first to get the backside nice and flat, and then I'll pre-press the front side, and then I will do what I need to do. But I use almost catapult pressure on that one. That's actually, you know, squish the heck out of me pressure. Then I have kiss me pressure. Like, and it just barely kisses the platen, just barely kisses it. And what I would use that kind of pressure is on chapstick holders or the car coasters that can get flattened kind of easily. And trust me, I have used too much pressure on those and I flattened them right out. You don't
I
want to
think
use
with shirts, that's the kind of pressure you want to use with shirts, but
um,
everyone has to
you
make.
know, so that's weird because for me, I found a technique, especially for my shirts, my towels, and all that. If my pressure is just a little too heavy, you end up with that paper line, the dreaded paper line.
Mhm.
When I first pull the shirt, I don't have one right here. I will literally just pull against the shirt. Why is that I do that? Is because you have threads, and the threads from the heat press and from the paper create a divot. All right. So now your threads are like this because of that paper pushing down. What you're doing by pulling against the threads is pulling those threads to come back up and straighten themselves back up. And so I will pull on those spots and it usually straightens them right out while it's hot. Because when the fibers are hot, they're a little bit more pliable and it allows for them to be a lot more stretchable. Whereas if they're cold, it's going to be a little bit hard to get those dimples, those gullies, whatever you want to call it, out of there. And that's just something I've learned over the 7 years.
I call it popping it out, is what I call it.
Yeah, you can do that too. Yep. For towels, I will snap a towel to get them out of there. But when they first come off a press, I will pull it and then snap it. One, because you've pressed down all of the little fibers on that towel. It's funny the different tricks and tips that we learn.
See, I call heavy pressure to me is either Donkey Kong, you got to Donkey Kong that, or I call it nuclear attack.
Yep. Squish the
Yeah.
heck out of me, Donkey Kong pressure, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Hulk, the Hulk pressure. I don't care whatever you call it, just know what it is. But it is subjective because what I feel is heavy pressure might not be heavy pressure to Bo. Why? Because he's a guy and he can, push this down a lot better than I can. And his kiss me pressure I'd be like, that is way too heavy.
So my kiss me pressure is if you let the press come down, there's always, at least on George Knight's, there's a little area where it'll lock kind of, but not close. Then you take 2 fingers and just
right, like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You should just be that, you should be able just to go like that. Now for squish me, you're pushing it down with everything you have. Like you had to eat your Cheerios that morning.
And you got to engage your core, maybe get up on something.
Exactly. But these are just terms. And that is the nature of the beast with sublimation, is just learning. Our manufacturers are fantastic, especially people like Condi, about at least giving us a launching point, right? Because that's what we have. We need a launching point of, okay, well, where do you start here? Time, temp, and pressure is all subjective. It depends on so bows might run hot. Mine might run cold. Mine might run a little hot because I've been running it all day. It depends. So you really just have to know your machine. At least you can say, okay, well, they started out at 385 for 65 seconds. Okay, great, fantastic. Then you got to figure it out based on your press. Where you live is also important. If you live in a very humid climate, that also plays a part in it. So for me, I don't live in a humid client where Bo does, right? So he's going to probably want to pre-press his stuff a lot longer than I would need to pre-press my stuff because I live in upstate New York. We're not a humid state. Whereas Alabama,
you probably actually have a humidifier in the room where we have a dehumidifier.
Right. Yes. Because we do. Well, yes and no. But there's points, especially in the winter, more so in the winter. We need humidifiers because we're running our wood stoves and it dries out our air. So we don't really have to pre-press stuff in the wintertime for that reason. But again, it's just knowing where you live and what works for you. As long as you have a starting point, nothing about this journey is scary at all. The scariest thing is the jump you didn't take.
That's right. I always relate a heat press and instructions to when you buy a bag of frozen something.
I forgot that I shut this.
You're going to put it into your oven. French fries may need to be heated at a different temperature. They may need longer. They may need not.
Crispy, not crispy.
Yeah. I talk about chicken nuggets all the time, putting it in things. And, you know, I don't follow the instructions all the time because my oven's different.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing so I owned a bakery and catering company. Most people don't realize that I was a wedding planner for 20 years and I owned a bakery and catering company. And that was one of the things that I would teach my employees is that, you know, if you're running that oven at 400 degrees, while it should keep the same temperature all day long when you are doing that, there's times it will fluctuate. And if you're starting to get the bread it's burning or it's getting a little bit too brown, back down your heat a little bit because you've been running it all day. And these were just tips and tricks that we would teach our employees. So yeah, if you know how to run your stove, think your heat press is the same way. It's running heat and it's going to change for how long you're running it.
Exactly.
So
this was great, Nikki.
Thanks. I'm sorry that I frustrated all of this up for maybe some people, but you know what? That's why you like bringing me on. You like watching me work through the process.
Well, that's how you learn as you watch someone figure it out.
Yes. You know? And a lot of times I won't do something until I am live. And we talked about my earlier lives. I would go and I would press it till it was perfect and you would see all the perfect. And I've learned over the last 7 years of doing this nope, let's just go right out of the gate. Let's just go right out of the gate. Let's work through this together. One, so you can see the frustration on my face and realize that you're not alone in this. You can hear me talk out the process. And sometimes I drop some valuable information in there somewhere. And just work through it because everything's a process. And it's just nice to know that somebody else, okay, so she's, you know, she teaches this and she's even struggling. So how is she going to get through it? Go back and watch the rewind of this and see where, you know, what we talked about. Go through all of the last list of things that you can go through. We know how to press the wood. That was easy. We got through that. Where if I feel if anybody's going to struggle is on the neoprene. But honestly, once you dial in that setting, buy a couple extra. Okay. You've got two sides to work this out. Buy a couple extra and just do it.
I liked your idea of doing the front side. If you're doing multiples, do the front side, then do the back side. And you could have, when you drop the press, just lifted it up and kind of adjusted your pressure right at that moment. I feel
I probably could have. I probably absolutely could have. But because I was talking and I went, my brain just went,
It's really hard doing things live and in person. I was doing mugs on Friday and I am so used to the mug press, doing them like with the mug press facing out this way. Before the live, I was setting it up and I was on the front side and I was like, this thing feels weird.
Yes.
And you know, just doing it live in front of people is just so much different.
It is. It absolutely is. And then, you know, you have to explain why it doesn't look the way it does. Well, this is what I did and why. because no, it might not come out perfect. And honestly, I don't want my stuff to come out perfect when I'm teaching. I want the flaws, because if my stuff comes out perfect every time and yours doesn't, you're gonna be like, well, what is she doing that I'm not doing? At least if mine doesn't come out perfect right out of the gate, we're gonna work through it together and get us to a better spot. So I never want mine to come out perfect, ever. I want them to be completely bad, because it allows for an opportunity for teaching. If you show the perfect every time on your live, I'm going to question you as a person. Like, how many times did you do it? And is there photo editing?
Yeah, 100%.
So
it's not like a cooking show where they make it and then they put it in the oven and they say, oh, well, I made one here. It's already done.
Right. Yes. Oh, look, it came out beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, the other one's deflated in the background, or it's burnt and it's charred. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So go back and watch the rewind of this. Bo, listen, you cannot make me wait this long again.
No, and I will see you in like 2 months, probably. For
in
sure.
April.
I think that's like 2 months away.
All right. You're coming to EEM, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm going to come.
Are you coming to EEM?
I'm coming to EDM. I don't know if Condi is. I will be working your booth if Condi doesn't, and helping you
I
out.
hope Condi does, because you know what? I loved having them right next door to me, because we all played well off of each other. And I got to do some live demos with them. And I love meeting Finch. Oh, he was a riot to talk to. And showing him the board method was probably the highlight of that trip, because his dad is the godfather of sublimation. So to be able to teach Finch something was just, I got to tell you, a feather in my cap.
Well, I'll let you know. You can probably teach him again if you see him, because he'll probably have forgotten. So
no, I doubt that. I doubt that highly. But I, you know what? I know that the fan base would love to see you at the Everything Embroidery Market. That's what I'll be teaching in Biloxi, Mississippi, right? I think that's, I always want to say Missouri.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe Stephanie's going to be there, and I was disappointed because Aaron is not going to be there. So
nope. Stephanie will be there. I love me some Stephanie. But yep. And then I head to the Applique Getaway in June, and that's in Texas. So if you're looking to meet me live, those are the two events that I will be at, is the Everything Embroidery Market in Biloxi, Mississippi. And then I will be at the Applique Getaway. It is in Irving, outside of Dallas-Fort Worth, in June for the Applique Getaway. So those are the two events that I do teach at. Come and see me live. We could talk about all things sublimation. I teach classes like bringing sublimation and embroidery together, something Stephanie and I do together. So I teach that class. I teach Canva. I teach Equid sites. So I'm more than just sublimation. And of course, I teach sublimation to everybody and anybody who's willing to listen.
That's right. Stephanie's saying that we should do an after hours, and
her and I are a riot together. No alcohol needed either. So yes, we absolutely need to do an after hours thing with that. And I've intertwined all of my embroidery into my stuff, and I just came out with something new for sublimation. I don't know if you saw it. And so yes, I'm excited about all the things I get to teach.
I love it. Love it.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely have you on again soon.
Yes, I mean, it's been, I think, since last summer.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be here in November. It's all right.
But we've been pretty busy here at Condi, doing things. Yeah, having fun. Any last words for everybody?
Just jump. Just jump. There's nothing scary about this. Enjoy the ride. Go get the pickleball madness. Jump on that train. Go out. And if you said, Nikki, I'm not doing the covers, that's fine. Just go sell the paddles. Go sell the paddles. I'll be making designs for them. If you guys don't know, I am the Sassy Subber, and I do have an Etsy shop where I do sell my designs for things like pickleball paddles, for you guys to be able to go in and print and press and go make that coin that you guys all want to go make. So make sure you do that. You can find me everywhere on the interwebs, where if you just type in the Sassy Subber into Google, I'm everywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nikki. It's been my pleasure. Always great. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with Chris from Forever. If in the future, just go ahead and just start watching Chris from Forever, and I'll see you guys later.
See you on the
Bye.
flip side.